Do you remember when having a great website was enough? We have many clients who want more than that. They realize they can't expect new customers to come to a website just because it's new and fresh. Their potential customers are engaging content through Google search snippets, voice searches, and social media. So our customers realize if they don't reach those people where they're already engaged, they'll be left behind. So I'd like to share an experience I had with one of our clients, a Fortune 500 B2B supplier. This project caused a big aha moment that forever changed my perspective on the importance of getting the content model right. I hope sharing this experience will help you have the same aha moment without similar missteps and hopefully without the same pain. Our client's implementation was a large headless CMS project built with Kentico experience. And the customer was excited by the benefits of a headless architecture. It would decouple their e commerce sites from the CMS platform, but most of all, it would enable content reuse like never before and omni-channel marketing. The omni-channel strategy was especially exciting. Our customer was forward thinking and knew that a website was not enough. Their users were getting answers from things like Siri and Google Search and mobile apps. So the idea was to figure out where their customers were looking for information and try to engage them there to reach customers where they were at. So a content model is a critical foundation for this omni-channel content strategy. It defines how content will be managed, delivered, and understood. In general, a content model defines the types, fields, and content relationships that will be used to store and deliver the content. So that seemed like a no-brainer to me. I'm technical. I understood data models. However, this project put everything I thought I knew about content models through its paces. It required a real paradigm shift. I'll admit, I was still used to analyzing designs and layouts when planning a website, not the content meaning and their relationships. And I discovered I was not alone. This was also a new paradigm for my customer, including their designers and content strategists. The team members actually needed help approaching the CMS project with a different mindset too. And again, I hope this journey will help you be ahead of the curve and help teach your customers this content centric mindset. So, despite my best intentions, we kept drawing from what we were familiar with design systems, systems for laying content out on a page. Unlike web focused content strategies, omni-channel content strategies can't rely on a page builder for design and layout. We knew that, but our tendency to approach the content model with our familiar design system thinking constantly caused us to veer away from that primary purpose of this content model, to deliver content to audiences on multiple marketing channels. So in an effort to achieve this ultimate end of content reuse, I honestly think I started to go overboard. I wanted all content to be able to be used anywhere, any place on a site, multiple sites and emails. So instead of having reusable content types like products, promotions, and contacts, I even had reusable links and miscellaneous content blocks. Wanted to be able to mix and match everything. And in effect, I was creating a content model for subatomic content pieces, if you would, pieces of content that were too small to be reused in a meaningful way. And I also realized I was stepping into the design by engineers trap that a mentor warned me about. He said this is why Microsoft product managers are not part of an engineering team. Engineers tend to sub-optimize the user experience while trying to optimize for code. Developers think about the code they're going to write all the time. They want to write elegant, simple solutions and don't want to be embarrassed by writing unnecessary code. It's what drives us. So developer types like me tend to identify small reusable patterns and ways to encapsulate small pieces of functionality. And it results in wonderful things like an elegant design system that allows lots of reuse of design components. But that same mentality applied to a content model could cause the content to be cut and sliced into too smaller pieces to be easily reused and managed. Such models tend to serve the code more than authors and the audiences. So what saved me from this trap? Something I recommend everyone try. Walk in the author's shoes. Don't just try out small pieces of your system as you complete it, but try the whole content production process. Fortunately, I did this very early on in the project. Although it horrified myself, the, the error I was making became very clear. It was very useful. It happened when I decided to prep for a demo by authoring a whole page. And I discovered that creating the page required me to pick and find content all over the Kentico Experience content tree, finding these bits of reusable pieces and linking them together to create a whole page. It really seemed to make sense on paper, but when I tried it out, I realized how cumbersome it was. And on top of that, I realized lots of those pieces of content that I cut into smaller pieces would never be reused on their own. So this caused a big epiphany. Although I was trying to create the ultimate solution for content reusability, sort of aiming for the holy grail, what I was actually doing was optimizing for one thing and creating an overly complicated solution as a result. I would have been causing pain for the very people I was trying to help if I kept down this path. Fortunately, this epiphany wasn't too late, and I did have time to adjust. But besides causing author pain, I also discovered that the content was broken up into such small abstract pieces that it would require each delivery channel, each system, a site, an email, a mobile app that wanted to use the content, to have to know how to reassemble the content into something meaningful. It sort of required a magic decoder ring. Imagine if each delivery channel had to know, oh, you want the support email? That's on the contact page and it's the second link in the right panel. Or, oh, you want a product description? That's on a product page and it's in the second contact block on the first tab. I know it sounds absurd, but that's how a design system tends to work when laying out content. So if you're not careful, a content model can be so complicated that for a system to understand it, it's as difficult and brittle as screen scraping. So I discovered I was causing these two problems: author pain and illegible content, content that couldn't be understood by other systems. And this led me to reassess and discover two key principles necessary to develop a content model that would really empower omni-channel content strategy instead of capsizing it. The first important principle for our content to be understood by multiple systems was that the model needed to be semantic. A semantic content model uses types and attribute names that reflect the meaning of the content instead of reflecting how it'll be displayed. For example, in a non-semantic model, teams might create page types like teasers, media blocks, and cards. You see how those names reflect the layout of the content and not what the content is? It doesn't help delivery channels understand the content's meaning. In contrast, a semantic content model might have names like product, service, testimonials. Do you see how those names reflect what the content means? Each delivery channel can understand the content and use it as it sees fit if it understands the meaning of the content. So the benefits of choosing to do a semantic content model is it provides content that is meaningful. Any system or delivery channel can understand that content and reuse it. And it also decouples the content from designs. This means you can do new designs and change designs without breaking how the content model is used or having to migrate content. So to get started doing a semantic content model, I recommend referring to schema.org types. It's a community-driven resource that's done a lot of the work for you. It provides type definitions and field definitions that we already know are intelligible to platforms like Google Search. So using semantic types is important for everyone at many layers. It even helps authors because if semantic types are in the CMS system, it makes it easy for them to discover content that they can reuse. Hey, I need a case study. I need a testimonial. They can find them because they're represented by the information they are looking for. It also makes it so the website can understand the meaning of content and enables it to embed structured data. The structured data embedded in a website makes it easy for Google to understand it. And because it can understand it, it makes it more likely for that content to appear in search snippets and info panels in Google, and it makes it easy for your audience to find the content. So to clarify how a semantic content model supports an omni-channel content strategy, Let's look at this car example. If the information for a car was stored in a website that just used a design-centric model, you'd have a page title, probably would have the car model on it, page intro would probably have an overview of the car, a table layout or a list containing more information about a car, and a page image. So the only channel that would be able to use that content well is the channel in which that content is authored. And even if you change templates in that channel, that website, you might have a hard time translating that content to a new template. However, if the content model has a type called car with that fields like model, make, variant, price, description, and image, it'd be easy for any page template or any other system, email, to understand that content and reuse it. Even an Alexa skill could be created that understands that content. But you might be thinking, I have no intention of supporting multiple channels. We just have one website. Well, you too need semantic content if you want to enable having structured data in your website so that Google could understand it. Structured data is the schema.org metadata that can be embedded in a page to provide the content in a way that Google understands it. For example, if you have a website that's publishing information about an event and it embeds the schema.org event type in the page source, Google will be able to identify, hey, this is an event. Here's the event title, the date, and the venue. That simple step makes it much more likely for your content to appear as a Google info panel or as an answer to a voice question. So the second important principle did not come as easy to me as discovering the need for semantic content types. It is that the best models are also connected. A good content model connects related components, such as the question and an answer in a fact item, together instead of slicing the content up into tiny pieces that must be stitched back together on a design surface. So what do I mean? We all have experience with this in a different context. Remember writing essays and articles in schools? They always had to have the intro. There was the body paragraphs and a conclusion, and those parts belong together. If you tried to slice it up into pieces that could not be related back together, the meaningfulness of most of those pieces would become useless. Besides a few key paragraphs, like the intro paragraph, most of them aren't useful at all outside the context, the flow of thought of the whole article. But as a whole, the article is meaningful and easy to reuse. So the lesson I learned is that content that belongs together should be easy to edit and manage together, and especially should be easy for websites and apps and any other system to query and consume as one, instead of having to know how to query all the little pieces and put it back together. So an article or essay is obvious, but there's a lot of content in a website that follows the same principle, that is most valuable when kept together and can even lose all value when broken into pieces. So here's an example from a website. Imagine you want to display featured content in this card layout, but notice it too has a beginning and a middle and an end similar to an article. It has a title and a description, a body, all the featured content, and the ending, a CTA linking to more similar content. So if you were trying to make a content model like this match the design system, it'd be very tempting to make a title section as a design component and therefore make a content item to match it. Or a CTA button that matches the bottom of this card layout. But the effect of doing that would make the content inventory cluttered, and there'd be many content items that are useless on their own. Authors would have a cumbersome authoring experience. So this might seem absurd if you're thinking about a content model, but imagine how it can happen. Combining design system thinking with a great page layout tool like the Experience Page Builder. Think about it. It'd be easy to create a section title widget, and it would be useful to you if you're trying to reuse that design component in lots of places and lots of contexts. It'd be easy to create a call to action widget for just a big button that could be reused in many places in many contexts. Furthermore, a card layout widget. So if you go down that road, It seems natural. Authors can stitch all kinds of components together for all kinds of content. Seems easy. It's reusable. It's smart, right? But any other channel would have a hard time understanding this content. It'd find a title in the content tree. What's this title for? How would the system know? It finds that CTA. What's the context for that CTA? What's it for? Here's a list of cards. Is there a title for this list? Where would the system find it? At a minimum, the system would actually have to decipher page builder data to figure out how to put it all back together to make sense of it. So in contrast, here's how I would create a content model or a small type for this example content. It would allow authors an experience to create this as one piece in one form, and it would allow all the delivery channels, the different systems that want to use the content, to easily retrieve it as a whole. It would probably be one page type called featured content, having a title, description, a related content field, and the link text and link URL for more CTA. A page builder could still use this content. A widget could pull it, and the widget could be responsible for picking the different design components needed. You still might have a title section design component, but the widget would choose it and use it instead of being the author's job to piece it together. And at the same time, any other channel, like emails, other websites, and so on, could easily query this content and make sense of it. So this feature content example might seem pretty simple to you, but I'd like to show you a real world complex example that we ran into. We had a customer that needed to define a content model for a software product page. And so their design team presented this need to us, and they were focused on the layout. We need a page. We need a page that can have many tabs, and we need blocks of content on the tabs. Do you hear the design system thinking? It's very similar to how I started that project with that kind of thinking. Want to make it flexible, want to have many tabs, and so on. But the problem, if we went that direction, is that the content model would be cumbersome. Authors would have to create separate tab sections in the content tree and then stitch them together in another page to form the page. It also caused a problem of the content lacking meaning. How would a delivery channel know where the software product's overview was? Is it the first paragraph on the first tab? Will it always be that? What if they want the product specs? Is it the second section on the second tab? Do you see how that would kind of require a magic decoder ring to decipher? The solution would be cumbersome and brittle. So instead of using that design-centric model, we dug into the requirements more and dug into the content meeting. And we discovered that what they wanted to display on this software product page layout was consistent. They wanted an overview. They wanted specifications. They wanted resources related to the product. They wanted pricing information for the product. The fact that they were choosing to put that information on different tabs was actually irrelevant to the content model. The meaning of the content is what mattered. So instead, we were able to put all that content in one type. We had fields for overview, specifications, multiple fields for pricing and resources, and so on. And it made it easy for authors because they can manage most of it on one form. And most importantly, it made it easy for any system to be able to use that content and understand it, as well as making it easy for future page design variations to be able to work with that same content. So I hope my journey will help you avoid my oh no moment, or more importantly, that you're trying out the author experience a lot and have many, many oh no moments of your own to help keep you on course. The big lessons I want to leave you with from this headless omnichannel marketing project is these two principles to ensure your content model stays on track. Ensure that the content model is semantic, that has type and attribute names that reflect the meaning of the content, and that your content model keeps content together that belongs together instead of fragmenting into pieces that has to be put back together on a design surface. These two concepts mitigated our temptation to shape the content model based on the design. Thank you very much, folks. I hope you enjoy the rest of Kentico Experience Connection.